Let's move on to our next segment. This is a Dynasty Outlook segment, so kind of extends out of what we just talked about. But these are players that you kind of might be freaking out over, or at least concerned with, what their future holds. The first one we're going to talk about is Sony Michel.
All right, so I'm a Sony Michel owner in a Dynasty League, and he is one of the weirdest players to own because he's currently the number 16 running back. He has 390 rushing yards, and the big thing, 6 touchdowns. When you watched him last year, you expected this huge breakout because of the way they used him in the playoffs. He was getting receiving work. This year, he's averaging 1 target per game and has 51 yards with 0 touchdowns. Also, on top of that, his snap percentage is only 41%. So when you bought Michel thinking that he was going to be the young talent that the Patriots paid up for, which they don't do on running backs.
And his price tag was high.
Yeah, it was very high.
Should have been. Rightfully so.
And so you've got this guy who essentially is a lot like LeGarrette Blount was when he was on the Patriots. So where does that put him? I have a little tidbit here. He ranks second behind, this really surprised me, Phillip Lindsay, with the amount of rushing attempts inside the 5-yard line this year, and is first in the amount of attempts inside the 10-yard line. So you look at that and you say, okay, he plays for a great offense and he's getting the attempts. He should be pretty viable, but it's hard to play him every week with any confidence. So where do you guys lay on him?
I mean, I have very mixed emotions about this because I think my gut would tell me sell him high, but I still don't think you can get the value out of him that you needed or that you basically went out and got him for.
Right.
So I almost feel like to counter exactly what I just said, I'm going to keep on him. I think you keep him, they're going to run the football, especially as we move in further on into the season. It almost feels like Bill Belichick is just like clowning with people, it just seems like they do the exact opposite of what you think they're going to do. And but to your point, you're almost surprised when you see him out there on the field getting carries. It's almost like he goes out there and him and James White look so similar that you can't tell if he's catching the ball or if he's running the ball. So I'm of the mindset that I'm keeping him, at least for the next few weeks, hoping that he continues the touchdown trend, because if he does, then I say you sell him and try to get the value out of him, because I definitely agree. He is a roller coaster of emotions trying to play him and count on him every week.
He is. Tim, where are you at on
I agree. I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. I wonder how Brady is going to react to the mistakes that Sony's been making. I know in the game Monday night, he hit him right in the hands basically with a pass that should have gone for a touchdown, inside the 20 or something like that, and he just dropped it. I mean, he looked away as he was catching the ball, and Brady was not happy. And I know, to me, and probably to Belichick, that's as bad as a turnover.
Yeah.
And he hates those. So if he keeps not getting better, that's poor phraseology right there. But if he doesn't start producing better and improving, I don't know that he's going to get a lot of more chance.
Yeah.
More chances. I think they may rein him in a little bit, and he may just become one of those guys like all the rest of them that just get a few plays a game.
Well, and so now that you bring that up, another, to me, red flag is he's done pretty well the past few weeks, but Rex Burkhead has been hurt. When Burkhead comes back, how does that adjust what is happening with him? I mean, does Burkhead take away a few of those goal line carries? Because if so...
Because Brandon Bolden's already doing
right. That. I mean, and it feels like every time there's a chance it's Brandon Bolden.
I think
obviously it's not. But it's really hard to watch almost when you're rooting for Sony Michel, because it feels like everything is going against him. And then as you watch the game, he just doesn't look good. He doesn't have that explosiveness that he had last year. I don't know. Maybe he's injured, and maybe that's part of the problem. It's crazy to say. I'm almost hoping, because he looks bad enough that I feel like that's a possibility. But he's just one of those guys that, to me, is... at the end of the year, he's going to finish as a really high running back, but to play him week to week, it's really hard to trust him.
I hope they bring on Damian Harris. So
I think he looks a lot better.
I'd like to
I mean,
see
he only
him.
has a handful of carries, but he, to me, looks a lot more explosive.
I'd like to see him play.
especially over Brandon Bolden. Come on.
I know.
Anyhow, I agree.